Hello all, I'm going to show you just a few different ways that you can customize your search fields and save them that do not involve the LSAR area field. There's a number of different ways you can do this and save it. You can use the quick search over here. You can load past searches. You can go up here, of course, and then there is also this power search here. We're going to focus on this area, which is search by class. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a single family search here. So as you can see, there's a number of different fields that are available for you to search by, city being one, county, state, in addition to price, status, all those sorts of things in there as well. You do, the LSAR area field is still down here. It will be optional to be entered by listing agents up until October 1st, at which point it will be deleted. But there's also this customize button here where you can look for any other fields that you might want to search by to narrow down your particular search for your clients. Keep in mind, it's best to search on fields that are required. For example, running search on monthly fuel costs or anything here, because this is a required field, doesn't necessarily mean that it is filled in, and you might be missing listings that would actually meet your criteria but don't have this information filled in. So just keep that in mind. Try and focus on fields that are required whenever possible, and filter out from there. So what we're going to do is first just show you how to do a search by city or county, and you can see that zip code's not on here, so that might be something that maybe we want to look for. So if I go back to that customize button, look for zip, add zip code, and I'm going to just say apply. That added this down here. Now, maybe I don't want that all the way down there. Maybe I want to go ahead and go back to this customize button, and I can just click and drag this up to wherever I would like it to be. There it goes. Ooh, missing it. I want it right there. Okay, and then we're just going to say apply. So now we can see our zip code here. So let's say, for example, I want to search by anything in the city of Duluth that has a zip code of 55811. I can combine those two things so that the only listings that are going to be show up in the results are those that have a city of Duluth and a zip code of 55811. We can narrow that down to all active, and you can see that there's 21 there. If I remove zip code, or rather I'll remove city, you can see that there's 30 total listings just in this zip code. You do also have the option to search by school district down here. School district is a required field, so you can search for any school district that you might want to look for. And this just popped in school district of Hermantown. We have 9. Curious if I actually put in city of Hermantown, if that changes that at all. And it doesn't for these particular set of listings, because of course there are Duluth addresses that are in Hermantown School District as well. So that's really how you're going to do this search by area. Of course, you can search by county as well, state if you want to narrow it down between which state it is, as well as all these other fields here too. I do want to show you a couple things about the mapping search as well. I should narrow that down a little bit so it doesn't take so long to load. Let's see, we'll go back here, and we will, let's say we only want city of Duluth. That gives us 105. That's a little more reasonable number to work with. Okay, so here are the 105 listings that match the criteria we put in, which was just all active and City of Duluth. If I want to zoom in or out, I will just use the wheel on my mouse. Otherwise, there are zoom buttons over here in the bottom right as well. And you can see where all of these listings are mapped. As you're inputting listings, remember how important it is to actually map your listings so that they are showing up in the correct area. For example, we've got 2 down there. As you zoom in and out, you'll see that the bubbles change to pin those closer to where they actually are, just to display the results a little bit better. And as you zoom out, they, of course, make bigger bubbles as well. So let's say, and the other thing you can do to move the map around is you just click with this little hand and pull the map, and it'll reorient it whichever way you pull it. Okay, so I'm going to go up here to this draw button, and I have a couple options here. Probably the most popular is the Polygon, which is where you can draw, whatever vector type shape that you would like. So let's say I'm gonna scroll on over here using my mouse, and I'm gonna draw right along the streets here. I'm gonna zoom out, click and drag my map and let go. And I'm going to include this section of my map. I'll go back down here. So that shape got a little bit squirrely zooming in and out, but if I want to edit it, go to edit, here's my polygon. And when I click on that, you'll see that the shape turned yellow, and it added these little bubbles on each of the corners, but also halfway between each of them, kind of shaded out. For each of the corners, I can actually click and see how my cursor changed there. I can click and change that shape like so. If I want to create some other vector line, like let's say I actually wanted to include this portion, I can go ahead and click and drag this like so to include that in my search criteria. You can really go in, very granular level and see individual houses and lot lines when you do this as well, or out as far as you'd like to. I can draw multiple shapes on a single map. So let's say this is one area that my clients might be interested in, and I want to draw a radius around the place that they work. So I'm going to just, maybe I'll zoom into, whoopsie do. Yeah, didn't need to do that. Just go back to edit, exclude that. Okay. Maybe I want to zoom into, they work at the airport. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to draw, and I'm going to draw a radius, and let's say they're willing to go about that far out from the airport as well and include those listings. I can also do a radius by miles if I want to, and it will center on wherever your map is centered on. So this is kind of a two-step process if you want to do that. By default, it'll center on your office address, which I'm attached to our association office down here in 41st and Grand. So that's where my map defaults to. Of course, that's something you can set in your preferences. But I can zoom on a particular address as well. So I actually don't even, let's see what the address is. Okay, perfect. Oh, that's DLH clothing. That's not helpful. We want this. Okay, so here is our address. That. And I will delete this shape that's there now just for demonstration purposes. I'll put in this address and search. And so here is where we have recentered our map to, and this is the center of the airport. Now, if I wanted to say my client's willing to live within 10 miles of that, the search radius, and it would make a 10-mile shape there. And you can do that really for any size you'd like. 10 miles is probably a little bit wide. You can add up to 7 different shapes on a single map. And if you want to reuse a shape or map layer for use with different clients or later on, you can actually save these shapes as any criteria that you would in any saved search. You don't necessarily need to attach it to a contact if you don't want to. So let's say I'm going to save this search as, and I'm going to say airport search. This is the most important box here, this save criteria values. This will save your criteria here, and criteria is just data that we use to limit listings. So active is one piece of criteria. City of Duluth is a second piece of criteria. And then our mapping shapes here are our third piece of criteria in this particular search. So save criteria values, if you don't check that, it's only going to save the layout of your search. So the fact that we added zip code here, but not any values, but it would not save the values unless you have this checked. So we are going to name that. You can set it as your default. That would come up every time if you wanted it to. We're not going to in this case. If I want to save it to a contact, I could do that here, look through my contacts, add them, and assign it to them. But if I don't want to do that, go back over here. We're just going to go ahead and hit save. It will save my search with my criteria values. So if I close completely out of the search and I go back into this search button here, and I go over here to where it says saved searches, saved property searches, and pull this up, here's all the saved searches that I have. So here's the airport search. It is not a default search for me, and I don't have it assigned to any contacts. So if I load that, you'll see the values that we had in here before. If I want to, I can change these shapes and I can save over the same saved search that I have, or I can save it as a new search and assign it to a new client if I want to. So totally up to you. Now, let's say you have created a saved property search for a client previously, and you have another client that is looking for similar search criteria. So we'll just pull up this this one here and see that all of your saved searches, whether or not they're assigned to a contact, are all in this saved searches button here. So if you've done something similar before, you can just go and load that back up. And here is this shape I made for this particular client previously. So we're including all active within these 2 shapes. Those are our only 2. You can see there's this criteria summary over here. These are our only 2 criteria that we have in. We have for sale rent, which is up here. By default, it goes to all, but you could filter that out if you wanted to as well. From here, if I wanted to change this shape a little bit, I go back into edit, click on the shape itself. Oops, here, just turns it yellow. This was just a rectangle here, but let's say I want to expand this search for this new client that I have. I can just click and drag and make that rectangle bigger. Or let's say I want to add a whole new shape on here. We'll add another polygon over in this part. Oops. Town, I'm just clicking every time to make a point. And then you see how my cursor changes when I get back to the beginning of the shape? That's how I complete the shape and add it to our criteria. So here's all 3 of our shapes. I can have up to 7 on a single search. I can, let's say they actually don't want this radius. I could delete that out if I wanted to. And then I'm going to go back over to our criteria, And instead of just save search, which would write over the search that I have, I'm going to go to save search as. By default, it's going to pull up your original name, but we're going to change this to our other client. Rename the search to something else. Again, make sure we're saving our criteria values here, very important. And I can assign it to another contact here if I want, or I can just save it and not have it assigned to any contact. Okay, so now that has saved another search. If we go back to our saved property searches, and I probably need to reload that. You will see the original search that we were working with is still here with the values that it had. And here is the new one that we created just today. So you can see the date that all of these were modified. This one was created in November. This one was just created in April. I can search by or sort by this particular field if I want to as well. That should round out the basic function of the search button and how to do mapping through the search functionality. One other thing I want to show you as well is actually in this interactive map layer section. You can actually create a layer that would come up on maps that you can reuse and actually search by if you don't have other criteria on it. So I would say this particular section of Polygon is really new, has not been part of the software for a terribly long time. So has some little quirky things about it still, but you would not have agent level, but we'll change that to agent. And we're going to name this, let's see, we're going to name it call it map layer. And we'll save that. As you can see, here's the search that I created. There's a couple others too. But when I click on that, it's going to very similarly to a just a mapping search that you do. Open up this map player. You'll see that some of the functions are gone up here that previously would have been. Let's see. If we go up to Island Lake here, for example, and I want to draw a polygon. You really just have two options: start and stop. You can change your map layers too, but that's pretty much it. Also, the only shape you can draw is a polygon. You can't do a radius or a rectangle in this particular search functionality. But if I start clicking on here and drawing very similarly to how you actually do just a regular search, I can create a map layer here that would incorporate whatever I wanted to. You can change the color, you can name it. You can add, let's say let's say Rice Lake. We're going to add Rice Lake to this particular. So we're going to hit draw polygon and we'll just start clicking on our map here. Finish our shape, change the color to green. And hit save. Now we've got these two different. Oh, I have to hit apply. Okay. There, that's there. Now it's green. When we do this, so here we can see it. That's the label I put on that shape: Island Lake and Rice Lake here. If I go back in and reload it, you'll still see that our two shapes are there, and I can edit it at any point as well. But what that does, and it does give you a notice that there's a little bit of a delay before it actually loads on your map, but I haven't found that delay to be very long. Okay, so if you look at this criteria, I haven't put anything in here. This is a wide open search. There's a million listings in here right now. But if I go to map search here, and I go under this layers button, there's a number of different options on here, but you can see down here, I've got my agent level layers. And if I want to turn on this one, it'll show me those shapes that I drew over in my interactive map layers. So at this point, if I click on one of the shapes, it makes it a piece of criteria in my search. So that's another option to go about it. Like I said, it's relatively a new part of the Polygon software and not as well tested. And I have been successful in breaking it so far. So just be cautious as you're going through here so that you don't waste a bunch of time on it. But it might be another option. I would say the one thing that's kind of an advantage to this map search for offices is that you can actually, so these have an A for agent level searches. If you are an admin or the broker, you'll be able to add it at an office level, individual office level, and share it with your agents if you want to do that. And then they would have that show up under this layers button here as well. I hope that has been helpful. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us. Hope you have a great day and take care.